Hello, my name is John Bannon. I'm an attorney and philosopher. In today's video, I'm going to explain how Hanssonian superdeterminism destroys anti-realism. When I talk about Hanssonian superdeterminism, I'm talking about a very specific class of superdeterminism proven by Swedish theoretical physicist Dr. Johan Hansson in 2020. You can find his proof in the peer-reviewed physics journal Physics Essays, volume 33, number 2, June of 2020, pages 216 to 218. Hanssonian superdeterminism says that we live in a static block universe without cause and effect in physics or without probabilistic causation. So essentially, we live in this fourth dimensional static block universe consisting of three dimensions of space and one hidden static dimension of time. And the only thing in this fourth dimensional static block universe is particles and nothing. But particles do create or exhibit a pattern through the static dimension of time. And that pattern is described by our mathematical laws of physics. So, anti realism is the belief that the physical world does not exist independently of our minds, language, and perceptions. To an anti realist, there is no baseline reality sitting out there waiting to be discovered. Reality is entirely constructed. However, a fully actualized invariant component of nature is the very definition of physically real. So invariant means whatever it is, it looks exactly the same, regardless of how you look at it or what angle you use to look at it. Now, our Hanssonian superdeterministic universe is a permanent, fully actualized, invariant block universe, which makes it the very definition of being real. So this clearly destroys anti-realism because our block universe is permanent and real. So in our Hanssonian superdeterministic universe, even consciousness must be an aspect of our permanent real block universe because consciousness is also predetermined. Now, I'll give you an example. Imagine you made a conscious thought to move your arm in the future. Because your arm is undeniably a physical object or physical reality, then your future arm movement must be a predetermined aspect of our static block universe. But in order for your arm movement to be predetermined, your conscious thought to move your arm must also be predetermined in order for your arm movement to be predetermined. That means that your conscious thought must be a predetermined aspect of the static block universe. And your conscious thought arises exactly where your brain particles are. And brain particles are a physical reality. So it must be the physical brain particles, which are organized in a very complex way, that predetermines your predetermined conscious thought to move your arm in the future. Now, it is a mystery as to why consciousness is immaterial, whereas physical reality is not. But if I were to guess at the reason, I would say this. I would say the universe uh, can be described by logical mathematical laws of physics. And that tells you that the universe is logic. And because it exists and its logic, it must have a reality in which that logic exists. And that's what we call the physical universe. But if you can have one form of logic that has a reality, which we call the physical universe, you can have another form of logic that has its own reality. Because in order for this other logic to exist, it must have a reality in which it exists. So the brain creates a logic of the possible, and that different form of logic has its own reality, which we describe as our conscious immaterial existence. However, our consciousness is still a derivative reality of our brain particle organization and the reality of the physical block universe. So, if we have a predetermined future thought, then that future thought must already exist in the future static dimension of time. But that means that our future thought must be immutable and cannot be constructed because the block universe is immutable and cannot be constructed. There's no cause and effect in physics in our universe, which means there is no construction going on in moving time. And because consciousness is an aspect of the block universe, then consciousness cannot be constructed either. So, reality is not a construction at all. In fact, that's an impossibility under Hanssonian superdeterminism because there's no cause and effect in physics to allow you to construct something in moving time. And there can't be any moving time because nothing can be caused to move in time. There's a static dimension of time, but that's not the same as moving time, which is this idea that time flows from one moment to the next, and there's a present moment of becoming. So, our block universe must consist of timeless physical reality due to the absence of moving time. So, if you don't have moving time, but you have a block universe, then the block universe has to be comprised of timeless physical reality because there's no moving time. If the universe were eternal, then it would be necessary and hence could never be changed or annihilated. So if the universe has always existed, it's eternal, then it has to be permanent and immutable because you can't change that which is necessary. If the universe were atemporally created, meaning created outside of space time, then annihilation or change of that block universe would also be impossible because it would be an impermissible duration of moving time. And because the universe doesn't have moving time, then it can't be subject to moving time or any duration of moving time. So, for example, if the block universe were atemporally created in one simultaneous act of creation, and then it were subsequently changed or annihilated, that would create two reference points from which you could measure a duration of moving time. That is, when it was created and when it was changed or annihilated. That would give you two reference points from which you could say there was a duration of moving time. But because the universe is comprised of timeless physical reality and can't have moving time in it because it has no cause and effect, then that's impossible. The universe cannot be subject to moving time. That means once it is atemporally created, it is permanent. It cannot logically be changed or altered. Um, Consequently, our block universe is permanent and will always exist in its present state, which satisfies the very definition of being physically real, thus disproving anti-realism. So if you hear anyone claim that reality isn't real or we live in uh, something that's even less than nothing. Those people are completely lying to you and they are wrong. And the reason is because Dr. Hansson proved that we live in a Hanssonian superdeterministic universe. All right, well, I hope you learned something, and I'll give you a second to read the board. All right, until next time, take care.